Saturday to look forward to.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship here live from Silverstone. Tomorrow Josh T is going to be trackside bringing us all the information that we need to know. Omi's going to lead you through the first race of the weekend. I'll be back for races 2 and 3. But all the action is gearing up and it looks to be an absolute cracker. Let's hand over to the trackside coverage for all the action from first practice. Getting underway now.
We'll be up at 3:35 and then we move to our final race and final track action of the day, which will be the first race of 3 for the Porsche Sprint Challenge of Great Britain. They will be kicking off around about 4:35 this afternoon for 20 minutes. So all of that to look forward to. So make sure you keep abreast of all of that. Have a little wander around the circuit. Some wonderful vantage points for you to grab here at Silverstone. We've got a couple of grandstands open this weekend. First off today. Most of them will be open tomorrow, but a few of them open for today. And as Alan said, get yourself down to the paddock because we have the reversed pit garages this weekend, so you have a chance to look at the cars, have a look at the drivers, what they're up to, what the teams might be doing as well. So get down into the paddock, get those cameras out, get your pictures taken, and maybe have your programs at the ready because you might want to get some autographs from the drivers here today before we have the official autograph session and pit lane walkabout tomorrow, which returns at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So that's a little bit of an indication, a little bit of a look ahead to what's coming up here at Silverstone this weekend for the penultimate meeting of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. And already, with the efficiency of TOCA and everything else, the 2024 calendar has already been announced as well. So we will be back here at Silverstone next year, so you can get your tickets brought for that later on, I'm sure, this year, ready for next season. It gets earlier and earlier, this calendar. It kind of gets brought out kind of middle summer now, but it helps everyone else in their calendar preparations for the club events across the UK as well. So nice that TOCA and Alan Gow have got that published, and it kind of sets you up, doesn't it, as well? It gets you booked up where you want to go next year, where you want to head. If you're a hardy supporter and you follow the touring cars all around the country, and I'm sure you're happy with the calendar for next season. Not much change, and we're looking forward to what next season brings, but we have, as we said, the small matter of making sure that this year is completed with the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. And what a weekend it is set to be. We come here with Ash Sutton, who's done a tremendous job so far this year, but will things go his way this weekend? We've got all the stories to bring you. Any changes we have for this weekend as well, we'll update you on, and we'll look forward to what's going to be this next free practice session of the day. We've got the countdown, which is now started in the pit lane, so all the teams ready for that to begin. So that means the pit lane will open very shortly indeed, and as soon as that green flag is waved, we'll have all of these cars potentially working their way to the end of the pit lane.
And it's this moment of beautiful choreography, isn't it? The liveries this season are spectacular, and as they fan their way out at the start of FP1, it's always a sight to behold. You can see it, can't you, Matt, this time? You're actually, you've got a sort of a good overhead view of cars leaving pit lane in what is a very lengthy pit lane, this.
So yeah, we can hear engines. Sorry, Al, we're just trying to sort cameras out to make sure we can see the circuit and what's going on. So I was listening to you, I promise. So yeah, cars are starting to be fired up down there in the pit lane. Some magnificent sights, as you said, and as they head out into the sunshine this morning, again, there's going to be some lovely sounds and some lovely sights to see for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. You can turn to the relevant page in your programmes again, 54 and 55. Lovely spread of the cars we have this weekend, and also look at the championship points we have curve as well, because it's a closely fought battle at the top of the order. Ash Sutton comes here this weekend on 362 points. 42 points cover himself and Tom Ingram, who sits there in second position, and Jake Hill in the BMW sits there in third place on 300 points. So lots of work to do for the Laser Tools Racing with MB Motorsport, but they are up for the challenge here at this Silverstone National Circuit as the green flag now waves from the pit lane for this first free practice session of the day to get underway. And in beautiful formation, it is the BMWs that lead them out onto the circuit, and I reckon all of them will head out for this first part. A few of them will head back into the pit lane, and they'll do their first checks of the day to make sure everything is okay, everything is good, and set themselves up, of course, for the crucial part of day number one, which will be qualifying a little bit later on. So it's to get to that point, they need to make sure their cars are all good, everything's working well. They'll tweak as much as they possibly can to find the perfect setup of these cars. And once that is all done, they'll hope that it all goes well for qualifying later on this afternoon. So off they all go. Enjoy, as we said, the sounds and sights as they head out onto the circuit. We can see the Hyundais now making their way down the pit lane. We can see the Toyota Corollas as well, just diving out the first part of the pit lane. And then next to the trains will start to head their way out as well, which is going to be the Honda Civics. So they work their way onto the circuit from One Motorsport with Starline Racing. So they're now heading out with the likes of Josh Cook down there. His teammates will follow in suit as well. And Josh Cook, we'll talk about him across the course of the day, because for Josh, probably, I'm not too sure actually if it's the year he would have hoped for, but Josh comes here this weekend, 6th within the championship, yet to have a win this year. It kind of started a bit slow for Josh, but he picked up his first couple of podiums at rounds 10 and 11. And things have got a little bit better as the season's gone on. He took a third at round 18 and a second at round 21, but unfortunately comes here this weekend with a non-finish from the final race at Donington Park as it returned to the Grand Prix circuit, where again the racing was pretty spectacular. I think the weather had something to do to help with that as well. But yeah, great to be back on the Grand Prix circuit. But Josh Cook, unfortunately, finishing the weekend on a bit of a downer, but he'll be hoping to turn his fortunes around this weekend as the BMWs have headed back into the pit lane, so they'll do their quick checks. A couple of the Napa Racing Ford Focuses as well. The likes of Dan Rowbottom is in. Sam Osborne is down there as well. He runs a special livery this weekend, the Valvoline livery on that car.
It's very cool, isn't it?
It looks good, doesn't it?
It looks really good.
It helps us spot them out, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, that's
between
true.
Each other.
Yeah, there have been subtle differences between the four Napa Racing Fords this year, but that is by no means subtle.
So what we're going to be looking for in this session, well, maybe we might get to the qualifying record that was set by Dan Camish back in 2020. 57.349 is the time that he set back then. That maybe is what we're going to get down to within this session.
Let's all hope that Dan Camish has a great weekend at Silverstone. He thoroughly deserves it after the last meeting at Donington Park, when the meeting for Dan went as far as this session, FP1.
Certainly did, yep. So unfortunately for Dan, he had to sit out the whole weekend pretty much of Donington Park, and that has really hampered him within his chance of this year's championship. Comes here this weekend on 220 points. He has had so far this year 3 wins. So started the season off top form at Donington Park, had a race 1 victory, a race 3 victory, and in the middle he had a 12th position. But yeah, for Dan Camish, looking for a much better result here, with things looking and hoping to go well for the man who races one of those Napa Racing Ford Focuses. So pushing on harder the 2 BMWs as they work their way across the line. Jake Hill and Colin Turkington, they sit 3rd and 4th within the championship. They are 1st and 2nd within this free practice session at the minute, but these times not really indicative of what we're going to get across the course of the weekend. Just a chance to build things up and make sure they bed everything in as nicely as possible for both of those BMWs at the minute.
So chuffed to see the return of Bobby Thompson. He's just come into pit lane and down pit lane. He's in for this weekend at Silverstone and Brands Hatch finale as well. Remember back, start of the season, just how well Bobby went at the start of the season, and then unfortunately had to pull out of the competition. 3 meetings is all he's missed. It feels like a lot longer, but I sat with Bobby this morning in driver briefing, had a good chat to him, and he's so pleased to be back in the car. Great to see.
Yeah, great to have Bobby back. He unfortunately, as Alan said, left us after Alton Park, so we haven't had him for Croft, Knockhill or Donington. But
it's only 3 meetings. It feels longer, doesn't it? He said the same.
Certainly does. He has been on the podium this year, so it's nice to have Bobby back, as you said, because he's got some real skill in that car this year. And that 6th race of the year, the Brands Hatch meeting, where he picked up his 2nd position and a win within the independence category as well. Of course, Brands Hatch for Bobby is his local circuit, so it went really well there on the Indy circuit. And as Alan said, nice to have him back for this weekend and also back to his home event at Brands Hatch on the full Grand Prix circuit in just a couple of weeks' time. So Bobby Thompson back with us for this weekend. Let's see if he can move himself up the order and possibly get himself back on that podium if everything works well for him this morning. And that car dials in nicely. We should be able to see him towards the head of the order at some point this weekend. Talking about Bobby Thompson and local driver to Brands Hatch, well, we have 3 drivers local to this circuit this weekend. So Jade Edwards, who comes from Northampton, is with us once again this weekend. We have Tom Ingram, who finds himself 2nd within the championship. He's not too far down the road in Coventry. And Colin Turkington is based these days in Milton Keynes. So they are your 3 local drivers to the circuit. And we have a couple of local teams as well, which is the One Motorsport with Starline Racing. So that, of course, is drivers with the likes of Josh Cook, Jade Edwards within that team as well for the second half of the season. So that is the local circuit. Aidan Moffat, of course, within one of the Honda Civics as well. And also we welcome local team car store Power Max Racing. They are based locally to the circuit as well. They race within Vauxhall Astras with Andrew Watson, and we also have, of course, Mikey Doble out there on circuit in the Vauxhall Astra. So they are your local drivers and teams for this weekend. And talking about one of those, we've got Mikey Doble just crossing the line now, heading his way in towards the first corner at Copse. And Mikey's season not doing too bad at the minute. He has found himself kind of just loitering on the fringes of inside the top 20. He picked up that top 5 finish at the 2nd race from Donington Park back at the start of the season. That was also an independence win for Mikey, and is also featured with inside the top 10 overall on 2 extra occasions as well. That was at Thruxton, and also finished inside the top 10 back at round 19, which was the trip to Scotland and Knockhill. So Mikey on his debut season within the British Touring Car Championship, again getting to grips with everything he needs to do. Dan Rowbottom lighting things up as he works his way into the pit lane. As he comes in, it's going to be Sam Osborne who works his way back onto the circuit within his Valvoline liveried machine for this weekend. Tom Ingram is also into the pits as well. And we've only had 4 drivers who have set representable times so far. Quickest of those are from the 2 BMWs. Jake Hill in car number 24. He has done a 58.022. And Colin Turkington in car number 4 has done a 58.199. So there are the 2 drivers so far below 60 seconds. We've also had Adam Morgan in the number 33 BMW, who has gone 3rd quickest. That's a 60.744. Jack Boutel 4th. And Ronan Pearson in his number 14 machine has gone 5th. But as we see through these sessions, the cars will be in and out of the pit lane on numerous occasions, as we said, just to try and dial things in, make sure everything's working as they should be. And the main thing as well for these sessions is just to try and make the odd change, just to see if that works or if that takes it the other way, and make sure you can then rectify it before you head out for the second free practice session. So a lot of things will be happening for the teams, for the drivers, just communicating between each other, just to make sure they have the best car possible for this weekend. And of course, when we get to qualifying a little bit later on, it'll all be about the deployment of the hybrid as well, which we'll talk you through. But for this session, they get the full deployment of the hybrid use for their cars. So that's going to be what they're going through at the minute. Dexter Patterson comes into the pits in his Cupra. Sam Osborne, who's just left the pit lane is already back in once again, and also the number 3 machine, Tom Chilton, who has been a race winner this year. Nice to have Tom with us for this weekend. I remember way back in the day where he took a win here at Silverstone in his, I think it was the Star Wars Honda Civic he had back then.
Good memory.
That's one of my early memories of touring cars. So, yeah, Tom Chilton, I think he was probably sideways and backwards down the Wellington Straight that weekend as well. I think that was the...
Just normal Tom being Tom.
So, yeah, Tom has been a winner this year, 13th within the championship. Apart from that, I think he's only troubled the top 10 on 2 other occasions. That was another top 10 at Donington Park on the national circuit earlier in the season, and also at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit back in May as well. So Tom has done well. He's scored some good solid points, 87 points in total this year, 13th within the championship, and also a race win to his name as well. So we'll see how Tom gets on this weekend in his Hyundai. In total, Tom Chilton has been a winner here at Silverstone on 5 previous occasions. He's one of the kind of leading lights within the championship who has taken the most wins at Silverstone. The only one who kind of outscores him is Tom Ingram, who has taken 6 wins at this circuit. So they are the top scorers in terms of wins in the British Touring Car Championship. But let's give you this kind of ultimatum for the weekend. Ash Sutton, who leads the championship, comes to Silverstone, has never been a race winner. So all of the winning he's done so far this year, Silverstone is one of those circuits that he has never actually won at. It's the only circuit in the BTCC calendar that he has not taken a race victory. So you might think that he's up the road, 42 points clear of Tom Ingram and 62 points clear of Jake Hill, but it might not go his way this weekend in terms of the wins. He might be there in terms of podiums, but can he scrape his first win from Silverstone? We'll have to wait and see how all the things shape out. I'm sure Tom Ingram and Jake Hill and Colin Turkington will be hoping that he doesn't take another win, but he, of course, will be trying to put that right this weekend in the Napa Racing Ford Focus. So Ash Sutton's season, well, it's been a formidable one at that, hasn't it? Because Ash has found himself at the beginning of the year with just the 1 podium after the first 3 races of the season. We then went to Brands Hatch, where he picked up a second in race 1, followed that with 2 race victories in race 2 and race 3. We then moved on to Snetterton and the 4300 circuit, where he kicked off the weekend with a first in race 1 and a first in race 2, which gave him 4 wins back-to-back. We then went to the 3rd and final race at Snetterton, where he just missed out on a podium as he finished in 4th place. We then took ourselves to Thruxton, the high speeds of Thruxton down there in Hampshire, where again he kicked off the weekend in style with a win in race 1 and race 2 before a 12th place finish in race number 3. We then took the trip north to Oulton Park, where he didn't quite do 2 wins, but he did 2 second places in the first 2 races of the weekend. That was then spoiled with a non-finish in the 3rd and final race of the weekend at Oulton Park. We then had the summer break. We returned at Croft for round 16, 17 and 18. Again, 2 podiums in race 1 and race 2 with a second and a first. That was then unfortunately followed up for Ash with a non-finish in race number 3. We then took the trip further north to Scotland. Race 1 for Ash at Knockhill was a 6th place. He then turned that around with a second in race number 2 and a first within race number 3. And the previous 3 races at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit, again, the first 2 races were podiums, first within race number 1, second in race number 2, and a top 5 finish in race number 3. So for Ash Sutton, the championship leader, 3 non-finishers so far this year. Every other race has been within the points. So that just shows again the consistency of Ash Sutton, who is vying for another championship at the end of the 2023 season. He's pretty much been unstoppable. He's been a man who you can't really mess with this year. Once he's got out front, he's kind of done the business. He's not been able to be stopped by anyone else. But as we said, we're still 6 races to go. Plenty of points on the table. Let's see what the likes of Tom Ingram, Jake Hill, Colin Turkington and Dan Camish can do, who find themselves 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th within the championship coming here this weekend. Just under 22 minutes of the session remaining. We've got a few more times now starting to be set on our screen, which means a few more people have decided to complete laps. But Jake Hill, a man who's currently in the pit lane, the quickest, has done a 57.622. Just being joined now by his teammate Colin Turkington, who works his way through the entrance of the pit lane. Also, he works his way into the technical check area, where he just makes sure that the car is at the correct ride height and everything is as it should be, so they can do this on numerous occasions through the free practice session, just to make sure they are happy with the car and as it should be, as we said. So Jake Hill currently quickest, a couple of tenths up the road from Ronan Pearson, car number 14. So Ronan, who has found himself on his debut season again, not too bad. He hasn't found himself in the podium positions. He's found himself, though, in the top 10 on 3 occasions within the last 6 races. So it's been a fairly good run of form for Ronan Pearson so far. Last time out at Donington Park, he found himself in the points on all 3 occasions. Currently second within this free practice session. Third place, the man who we just spoke about into the pit lane, Colin Turkington in car number 4. He's done a 57.999. And his teammate Adam Morgan, who switched to Team WSR this year, he sits 4th on a 58.072. Aaron Taylor-Smith, another man, I keep saying all these people who've done fairly well this year, but Aaron Taylor-Smith, another man who's really impressed across the course of this year, comes here 11th within the championship, picked up his first podium on the Grand Prix circuit at Donington Park last time out. That's second place he got there, and he has actually won the independence class on 3 occasions this year as well. That was at Knock Hill and also twice at Donington Park last time out. So Aaron Taylor-Smith, another man having a good run towards the end of the season, inside the top 5 within this first free practice session as it stands. Tom Chilton, 5-time winner at this circuit, currently in 6th position, and he is back into the pit lane as well. Andrew Watson in car number 11 sits within the top 7. Stephen Jelly, car number 12, is in 8th. Make that 9th now because we've had Ricky Collard, who just jumps himself up inside the top 5 places. Make that now 10th for Stephen Jelly because Dan Camish has also made his way inside the top 10 up into 9th place. So we've had a few improvements that time round. Both of those, Ricky Collard and Dan Camish, now put themselves into the 58s. So a couple more drivers to find themselves inside the top 10. Stephen Jelly continues to drop down as up the order there goes Aaron Taylor-Smith now into 4th place. So 58.016, just thousandths back from the 57ths at the minute. Darrell De Leon across the line. He is another late joiner to the championship this season. He missed the first few rounds, but joined us from round 16 onwards. So the second half of the season, Darrell De Leon has been with us. So Croft onwards as he goes across the line. Darrell De Leon, was that an improvement in time? Yes, it was. 59.371. So he now jumps himself up into 14th place, just ahead of Dan Lloyd, who finds himself in 15th place. Another man who is yet to take a podium this year in his Cooper Up as he works his way again into what's going to be another lap in the 1-2-3 machine. And I say another lap, it's not another lap because he's now back into the pit lane as well. So just under 18 minutes to go. Dan Lloyd back into the pit lane. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who on that previous lap jumped up into the top 4, is also into the pits as well. And we still have around about 10 drivers yet to set competitive time. They include Rory Butcher. Ash Sutton has done 8 laps, but yet to set a quick time. Dan Rowbottom and Sam Osborne, teammates to Ash Sutton, yet to set a time. Tom Ingram, last year's champion, yet to set a time at the minute, although he's just going to prove me wrong there, I think, because he goes, across the line up into 13th place. So that is the first quick time from the 2022 champion. Who else hasn't set a time? Well, Nick Housted, Aidan Moffat, Bobby Thompson, Josh Cook and Jade Edwards give us our 27 competitors for this weekend in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. On the hybrid there across the line was Stephen Jelly, but does that improve his lap time? No, it doesn't. He stays down there in 11th position at the minute. Adam Morgan, the next one through. He is in 5th position as he goes across the line. Time for Adam Morgan there is a 58.081, 9 thousandths off his quickest time in that session. So very consistent for Adam Morgan at the minute. Mikey Doble, though, up into the top 3 now. So the number 88 machine, the Vauxhall Astra with Powermax Racing on their local circuit this weekend. They have just gone 3rd quickest behind Ronan Pearson. So we've got the second place driver, Ronan. We've got the first of the independents at the minute, Michael Doble. Ricky Collard, who is up in the top 7 of the championship, crosses the line and goes 6th quickest now with an improvement, 58.050. His teammate Rory Butcher next across the line also improves there up inside the top 10. So good to see that the Toyota Corollas are going well as well. But in terms of that team, it is Ricky Collard who finds him at the head of the championship contenders in terms of those out of that team. So teammates Rory Butcher down in 10th place, George Gamble 17th, but Ricky Collard, after what we heard at the end of last year where he was looking to retire from touring cars and look to do other things, all of a sudden it transpired that he was going to be back for another season, and I think it's fair to say he made the right call, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And now he's looking forward to the next season and the season after, because he said so on the pit lane walkabout just a few weeks ago at Donington Park. Yeah, big turnaround, and with good reason as well.
Certainly is, yeah. So Ricky Collard, only the one podium so far this year, but again, it's that word we continuously use within touring cars, consistency, because that definitely is what it has been for Ricky Collard, and especially of late, actually, because from Knock Hill onwards, he's found himself inside the top 6 in every single race. So that podium he had in race 1 at Knock Hill, he followed that up with a 6th place and a 5th place in race 2 and race 3, and last time at Donington Park, he was inside, as I said, the top 6 on 3 occasions, 2 of those being top 4 finishes. So Ricky Collard really jumping himself up in the order of the championship. He's not a championship contender, but he'll be looking to try and overhaul Josh Cook before the end of the year. Josh is 35 points up the road, and Dan Camish, after having to sit out at Donington Park for the 3 races, he is only a further 9 points up the road from Josh Cook. So there is potential there for Ricky Collard maybe to find himself inside the top 5 in terms of the championship before the end of the year.
Shall I make a bold prediction?
Go for it, please, Al.
He will win a race before the end of the year.
Okay, I'm going to make a note of that.
Because the trajectory he has been going this year, he's been unlucky not to. So I just think 6 races to go. Yep, Ricky's going to get one.
And to be fair, they've kind of hit the right spot now, haven't they? With those,
they totally have, yeah.
Yeah, those last 6 races, as we said, with being inside the top 6, they just need that little bit more. And of course, with touring cars being so close as well, it might only be 1,000th of a second you need to find. But once you've found that could be the difference from being 4th place in a race to on the podium. So yeah, that's a good prediction there from Alan Hyde down in the pit lane. Ricky Collard to be on the podium.
It won't come true. I mean, I get predictions wrong all the time. I just think the way his season has been going and the way he has been driving, particularly over the last few meetings, that if there was justice in the world, he'll win a race.
I do agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that one. So, yeah, I think Ricky Collard should get a podium before the end of the year. We might have jinxed it now, to be fair, but hopefully we haven't.
Not. Don't believe in all that.
No, not at all. So Ricky will be fine, and I said he'll be on top form this weekend as his teammate Rory Butcher crosses the line. Unfortunately, we've got a couple of black flags out there within this session, one of those being Colin Turkington, the other his teammate Adam Morgan. So both of those have just been ushered into the pit lane with a black flag. Jake Hill, their teammate, is still in the pits, but still the quickest within this session at the minute with a 57.622. And here comes now Colin Turkington into the pit lane, and he's going to go to his pit garage. He's being shown the flag in the pit lane as well. Ash Sutton, has he now done a time within this session? The answer to that is let's have a look. Yes, he has. He's 6th place at the minute. So first free practice session for Ash Sutton in 6th place. So he's there or thereabouts. He's around about 0.4 of a second off the quickest of the BMWs, and he is at the minute the lead Napa Racing Ford as well. Teammates, the likes of Dan Camish, currently down in 14th place, car number 27. His teammate Dan Rowbottom, car number 32, is in 13th place, and Sam Osborne on that previous lap just improved actually up into 18th position in car number 77. So good session for all of those at the minute. Another BMW back into the pit lane, that being number 12 Stephen Jelly, just dropped down into 15th position has Stephen. One podium for him this year as well. That came on the tight confines of Knock Hill. That was race number 2 of the weekend for Stephen Jelly. A weekend which started well with a 4th place, followed by that podium. Unfortunately, he then dropped down into 19th position for the 3rd and final race of the weekend. But Stephen looking for another solid result. He has not previously been a winner here at Silverstone. His 2 wins within the British Touring Car Championship came at Oulton Park. He has in total had 4 wins within the British Touring Car Championship, but the other wins don't reside within the calendar that we have nowadays within touring cars. Rory Butcher back into the pits. He is just trying to hold himself inside the top 10 at the minute, but that last lap was considerably slower as he worked his way into the pit lane. But Mikey Doble, really impressed with what he's done so far. We can't always read too much into these times because some people try different things. Some try them within free practice 1, others try them in free practice 2. Some of them don't try anything and just hold back a few things for qualifying. So it's good to see the likes of Mikey Doble up there in 3rd place. Also Ronan Pearson as well in the number 14 machine. So doing a grand job with the Bristol Street Motors team with Accelerate. So they are pushing on hard at the minute, and it's good progress actually for Ronan Pearson, and also good information for the team, because if they can take that team and pass it on to Tom Ingram, we might see Tom working his way up the order as well from where he currently finds himself down in 9th position. So they are the team cars. Tom Chilton, the other driver within the Hyundai, currently down in 11th position, as again he works his way back into the pit lane. And only a couple of drivers now yet to set a time within this session. Bobby Thompson in car number 19 in his Cupra, and also the Honda Civic of Jade Edwards, car number 99, has yet to set a time within this session. So hopefully both of them will be able to do so before we get to the checkered flag in just under 10 minutes time. But they are the two that we have yet to have times from on this 1.64 mile Silverstone National Circuit. Jake Hill back out on circuit as well now. That time through was his out lap, so let's see now if he can push on through the next couple of sectors and get himself any quicker than a 57.622. As we said, as we opened up this session, the qualifying lap record here at Silverstone is a 57.349, so still around about 3/10 shy of that time, which was set by Dan Camish back in 2020.
I do wish my watch wouldn't keep telling me I'm in a loud environment. I just would like to say to it, yes, I know, I like it. Because there are quite a few cars in pit lane at the moment, and it's just being serviced towards the end of their session. Now, I did promise you that I was going to talk to you about the Accelerate Garage this weekend. It is absolutely breathtaking. So, double garage, imagine it. It's open to the public in the paddock area, reverse garages this weekend, and the whole of the wall of the garage, including the sort of little archways where the cars go through, 2 of them, has been dressed with a video wall, and each of the small panel walls can carry different things. So apparently tomorrow one of them is going to be showing football for people that want football, sponsors' names, a huge timing screen, massive, shows both pages going across in the centre of the garage. Also the tracker on TSL timing. It's the tracker is shown huge right the way across the middle width of the garage, and it's bright. And I bought Steve Ryder in here from ITV this morning. He said, just come and have a look at this. This is something pretty special. And he said, typical Steve Ryder really, he said, is that the Golf on there? And was attracted to it. Yes, it was. It was showing the Golf. It's just superb.
So is that a new thing for this weekend, Al?
It's the first time it's happened.
Wow.
And Bristol Street and their amalgamation with Accelerator are enjoying the ongoing fruitful relationship that the 2 of them had. Whether this is a celebration of that, quite possibly, but I hope it's here to stay, because it is now next level in this garage.
There we go. So if you're about down in those garages this weekend, do head to Accelerate Motorsport, because as Alan just described, it's something a little bit special this weekend.
Well, you could be forgiven, Matt, if you're standing at the back of the garage and you're looking in. You could just think it's normal, you know, coloured walls and pretty impressive nonetheless. But it's not until you look into the middle and you realise, actually, hang on, that's a live timing screen, and it's the size of the planet. It's then you realise it goes all the way around the garage. It is quite superb.
Well, that's where I'm going to be heading for lunch then, to have a quick look at the things down there in the pit garage of Accelerate Motorsport. To be fair, there's quite a lot of sport on this weekend. Formula 1 from Japan. We've got rugby, haven't we? England in action. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of things broadcast across that screen this weekend, as Alan said, with TSL timing. And I'm sure the ITV feed tomorrow as well will be on that screen. So, yeah, a bit different from Accelerate Motorsport, but one that you need to go and have a look at for it to be believed. So yeah, lovely stuff from the team down there to bring something a little bit different to the touring car garages for this weekend at Silverstone. Hopefully it'll be there at the final rounds at Brands Hatch as well. Another black flag, this time for Tom Ingram. So he has been shown the black flag on circuit, so he'll have to usher his way into the pit lane, which he now does. So probably communication on the radio from the team just to say that he has received that black flag. So through he comes. Where is he in the order at the minute? He has now found himself in 9th position, so no change from when we last described the order to you. In fact, that lap he's just come back in on was an outlap from the pit garages, so no change for him. Jake Hill still quickest, 57.622. That time has not changed from earlier on in the session, and Jake now finds himself back into the pits as well. Colin Turkington, the 4-time British Touring Car champion, has not headed back out since he rejoined after that black flag, although I say that, and just as he heard me say that, he's about to be pushed back onto the fast lane of the pit lane, so he is about to go back out along with Adam Morgan. So this is going to be the final chances now to improve their times, or as we have been describing, maybe make a few changes that maybe have worked or maybe haven't, but just to try those out before we head to free practice number 2. And as always, these sessions go by very, very quickly indeed, because now on the timing screen we only have less than 5 minutes to go, so it's now or never for most of the teams to try their final bits out.
It's remarkable how quickly these free practice sessions go, isn't it? And the teams have got just a huge amount of housekeeping to set them up for the weekend to go through, bedding in brakes, bedding in tyres, doing all those kind of things, not least getting the car ready to be as quick as possible for qualifying this afternoon. So they are going through so much, and make no mistake, these FP sessions really do go quite quickly.
Certainly do. Just looking at where we have improvements. Darrell De Leon just jumped up into 23rd place, so he has done a slight improvement into the 59s now. Josh Cook, who is currently down the order in 11th position, will be looking for a better qualifying a little bit later on. 6th place within the championship, as we said. 4 podiums so far this year, yet to be a race one winner, which is very much unlike Josh Cook. He's normally out there and doing a grand job within the championship. 18 wins to his name across the course of his BTCC career. Here at this circuit, he has also, a bit like Ash Sutton, yet to be a race winner. So a couple of those drivers looking to change those fortunes around here this weekend. But Josh Cook now back into the pits, not quite inside the top 10 as Tom Chilton crosses the line. He's got his teammate behind, Ronan Pearson, taking himself right towards the edge of the track limits there, but I think he just about stayed within the confines as he worked his way past one of the Honda Civics as he tried to complete his lap, and with that Ronan Pearson was slightly slower there, 58.120, so hasn't been able to improve on his earlier 57.895, and he remains around about a quarter of a second adrift of Jake Hill in the top of the order at the minute as the last few cars go through. They're going to get probably 3 more laps in as Aidan Moffat blasts his way through. He is on the hybrid there. You can see, if you're around the circuit, you'll see a blue flashing light. If you are familiar with touring cars, you'll know exactly what that is. But if you're new to touring cars and joining us for the first time this weekend, the blue light is hybrid. That gives them an added burst of power. They'll be able to use that, as we said, through the free practice session as much as they like, but as we get through to the end of the day, the likes of qualifying, they have for most of the drivers a set number of seconds, and at a certain speed you need to be for that to be initialised as well. And of course, when we get to the races tomorrow, again, depending on where you are in the championship, you are only allowed to use your hybrid for a certain amount of laps, and again at a starting speed you can use that. So we'll carry all of that for you a little bit later on, but for these free practice sessions you can see unlimited use effectively of that hybrid, and as we said, the blue flashing light towards the rear of the car alongside the driver's name. When that flashes, that will give you an indication when the drivers are on the hybrid, and of course you can do that in tomorrow's action as a attacking mode or a defensive mode, whichever you feel you need to use it for, but it gives another element to the British Touring Car Championship, and it has done now for 2 seasons when that was brought in at the beginning of 2022. So we've got just under 90 seconds left. The wonderful noise of touring cars make their way through once again.
Remember I said how chilly it was? Well, it is still in the pit lane when you're in the shadow of the garages, but when you go out into the sunshine, the temperature really is climbing as this session has gone on. It's pretty warm, and almost you just need a shirt or a t-shirt now in the sunshine.
I love this time of year. It's autumnal. You wake up in the morning. It's very chilly as you jump in the car.
Agreed.
But the sun's out and it makes it all happy and jolly, doesn't it?
So I agree entirely, but I can't say I like this time of year because I know what's coming next. That's the problem that I have.
Shall I not say it?
No, do not mention it.
I think we all know what Alan means. But yeah, in terms of the weather, we kind of like this autumnal weather, but we know what's on the way, some darker nights and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a lovely crisp morning out there. And as Alan said, temperature now starting to build once you work your way into the sunshine. And as we said, that will start to affect things on track as well, because as the track temperature rises, that will affect how the cars handle and how your tyres grip the circuit and how much time you can get out of those cars as well. So all of these things will be a factor for today, because it's fairly early in the morning, 10:15. By the time we get to the second free practice session, around about 12 o'clock this afternoon, that would have changed, I'm sure, quite significantly to what we have this morning as well, with a lot more rubber being put down in the session as well. So the first of our free practice sessions has now drawn to a close. With it, Ash Sutton works his way into the pit lane. He's going to come into the technical check area as well, just to make sure his Napa Racing Ford Focus is okay. Bobby Thompson is going to do the same. Josh Cook is going to do the same as well. So just want to make sure that their ride heights are correct and everything else that needs to get a tick in the box is a-okay with those cars. So checker flag is now out. A few of the cars on the circuit now just taking that. So that will be to end their session. There goes Rory Butcher, there goes Michael Crease, there goes Jade Edwards as well. Nice to see her out on circuit and also getting a time in, because she was one of the last ones to head out to set a competitive time. Dan Lloyd goes through as well in the 1-2-3 machine, and Mikey Doble, who isn't quite going to hold on to a top 3 within free practice number 1, but he is going to be in the top 5, so a good way to start the day for the local team for Carstore Power Max Racing. So they find themselves inside the top 5, and now with the majority, in fact all of the cars now taking the checker flag. Let's very quickly run you through how the times come to a close at the end of the first free practice session for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. As we said, nothing really to read into, because a lot of teams and drivers will be doing a lot of different things through these 2 sessions this morning, but just an indication of who's gone quickest. It's the number 24 machine of Jake Hill, his time of 57.622. He was just over a quarter of a second quicker than number 14, which was Ronan Pearson, 57.895 in his Hyundai. Third place then for number 40, which was Aaron Taylor-Smith, 57.923. So 3 different manufacturers inside the top 3 places. Fourth place then for number 88 is going to be Mikey Doble. His time within that session was a 57.934. And then Colin Turkington in 5th, car number 4. He did a 57.999. Sixth place for the championship leader, number 116, Ash Sutton, 58.042. Followed by 7th place, number 37, which is Ricky Collard, 58.050. So the man who is 7th within the championship, 7th within that first free practice session of the day. 8th place then for number 33 is Adam Morgan. He did a 58.072 in his BMW. And then 9th place for number 1, Tom Ingram, who finds himself 2nd within the championship. Champion from last year, 58.125. 10th place then for number 6 is Rory Butcher, 58.162 for him, just 8 thousandths of a second ahead of Josh Cook in car number 66. He finished the session within 11th place. 58.170. 5 thousandths of a second back from him was Tom Chilton in car number 3, 58.175. 6 thousandths of a second back from him, just shows how close the touring cars are, was Andrew Watson in car number 11. He did a 58.181. 14th place then for number 27, Dan Camish, 58.208 in the second of the Napa Racing Ford Focuses. Then we had the third of those, which was Dan Rowbottom. He was in 15th place in car number 32. His time of 58.233. Then behind them came 16th place for number 12, Stephen Jelly, 58.402. And then 17th place for number 123, Dan Lloyd, on a 58.431. Then we had in 18th place number 42, which was George Gamble, his time of 58.470. And 19th place for number 77, the 4th of the Napa Racing Ford Focuses, in the hands of Sam Osborne with a 58.482. 20th place on his return this weekend, number 19, Bobby Thompson. He did a 58.5 5.94, just ahead of number 17, which was Dexter Patterson in 21st place. He did a 58.645. Then came Jade Edwards in car number 99. She was 22nd position on a 58.808, just ahead of Aidan Moffat, car number 16 in 23rd, 58.860 for him. 24th then for number 777, which was Michael Crease, 58.918. 25th for number 18 was Daryl DeLeon, 58.994. 26th place then for number 96 was Jack Boutel, 59.057. And the last of our runners within that free practice session was 27th place for number 22, Nick Halstead, on a 59.389. So there are your times for the first of our sessions this morning for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. They'll have another chance, of course, to head out for another 35 minutes around about 12:05 this afternoon. So they'll have a little bit of time to rest, get themselves sorted, make a few changes and be back out there on circuit for our next session of the day. So all things looking good. I don't think we had too many problems through that session. Everyone keeping it clean, tidy, no mechanicals, no issues for any cars out on circuit. A little bit of clear up to be done at Copse with the sweepers, but apart from that, it's been a nice fluid morning so far. Let's try and keep it that way for the rest of the morning as we head into the afternoon as well, with 3 races to look forward to today, as we said here at the penultimate meeting of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. So quite a few drivers, as we said, just taking the opportunity to do their technical checks, making sure everything's okay. You can see a fair number of cars just going through there now, so everything looking good. That just means the pit lane is quite busy towards my end, where the cars enter the pit lane. But once all of those have been cleared, we should be good to go for our next session of the day.
All queuing up for the TOCA technical check area. That's an important part of FP1, FP2. Make sure the cars are right height, weight, all of those kind of things that need to be checked. I thought I might see if I can seek out Ronan Pearson. Can you sit him down in the queue, or is he likely to be in the garage?
He's third in queue, Alan.
I beg your pardon?
Third in queue.
Is he?
Yes, or fourth maybe. He is there though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went in the garage. It was the one of the 4 cars that wasn't in the garage. So pretty typical that. Aaron Taylor Smith, is that the PMR car which is on the weighbridge as well? That would be my luck.
That's Taylor Smith is in the queue, but he's quite a way back at the minute.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to have any. I'm not going to have any luck here, am I? Unfortunately. Just looking into the Napa Racing garage and watching Ash Sutton having a look at the timing screen. We did a live episode of the Barking Man podcast, which is the podcast of the BARC, the organisers of BTCC meetings yesterday. And Ash very kindly, bear in mind this is the penultimate meeting of the year and it's pretty busy for the guy that's leading the championship, but he made half an hour for us and came over to the podcast. It was such a good interview. He was so open and honest about how he attacks this weekend, and when I say open and honest, he admitted, yep, he gets nervous, and you would imagine that a 3-time champion, and after the kind of season he's had, that nerves might not come into it at this point in the year, but they do. He was honest about it, and he said, I'm sort of nervous looking towards to Brands Hatch because I want to win this championship more than anyone else. If he wins the championship this year, he equals the record held by Andy Rouse on his own for many years, then joined by Colin Turkington, 4 championship titles. Ash doesn't want 4, well he does, but only on his route to 5 and possibly more as well. So with that in mind, he is down to business now. He's in the garages with Ollie Collins, who is the team manager, and Pete Osborne, who is the team owner, looking through data, looking through everything they've accumulated during that session with a view to moving on to FP2 and of course qualifying this afternoon as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Barking Mad podcast, BARCING podcast on YouTube and the audio available on Spotify and all the sort of usual podcast outlets. But it's the last 20-25 minutes of the podcast from yesterday. Really interesting. If you are keen to know Ash's thoughts heading into this weekend, that's where to go.
It is a great listen as well, I have to say, and Alan, you're wonderful on it as always. So
you're a very kind person.
You are, though. It's a lovely listen, and to be fair, when you're working away on the computer and you just want to have something on in the background, that is a brilliant thing to listen to, and it's very informative, and it kind of highlights all the racing that goes on within the BARC as well. So do have a listen. As Alan said, the Barking Mad podcast from the BARC, available on all the platforms, and of course direct there on the website barc.net. But yeah, do check out yesterday's edition where, as Alan said, Ash Sutton gave up his time to have a word with the guys there and chat about this weekend.
It sort of surprised me actually, Matt, because I thought he's going to have way too much to do. They have so much to get through on a Friday, and bear in mind there are so many things that happen behind the scenes. We're also on the podcast, we had Andrew Watson and Mikey Doble from PMR, and I said, oh, you didn't bring Aaron Taylor-Smith with you? No, he's flat out all day today, and he's taking people of tours of the garage, and this is what racing drivers do behind the scenes to look after their sponsors and their various guests that we don't see. We don't see any part of this, and it all goes on sort of seamlessly behind the scenes in order to make their racing seasons happen.
But then sometimes it might be a little bit of a respite for them to come and do things like that, where they can take their mind off it just briefly and have a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a chat.
Actually, you're right, because Ash seemed so relaxed and so into having a chat, really. It was I really looking back on it, I was a bit nervy about doing it, because I thought, hang on, it's the Friday before a race weekend, everyone's got things to do, they're all going to be rushing around and need to get off. It was quite the opposite. It was brilliant.
Lovely stuff. So, yeah, nice to hear from Ash Sutton. Hopefully we'll hear from him across the course of the weekend here at Silverstone. If you are just arriving, well, a very good morning to you. Welcome along to, as we said, Silverstone for the penultimate meeting of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Get yourself set up for what's going to be a busy day ahead. We've already had the first couple of sessions of the day with the Caterham 7 Championship and also the...
Yes, and it's going to be a very interesting session as well to be taking part of. My thanks to everybody for watching in, getting all set then for all of the action. We'll be back for practice 2 later on. That'll be on YouTube only, as we've got a different evening for the Indian Grand Prix sprint race, a new acclimatization session coming up to differentiate from the sprint. We'll be back later. Take care. Bye-bye.